And welcome back to Janky AF and Year of the Aerostar, episode number 106. Well, we find you on a beautiful evening, another bedroom episode of Year of the Aerostar. We do not have an Aerostar painting, but I do have a lovely copy of this book about Barry White. So hopefully that suffices. We got caught up in the middle of a foreign residency, and then it's been local after local, or somewhat local, at least continental U.S. anyhow. And, people say, oh, there's no more Aerostars out there, or you never see them anymore. But if you look on the classifieds, there's still a ton of Aerostars out there for sale on the market and ready to be scooped up by car enthusiasts everywhere, and in some cases refurbished and put back to everyday, or even classic occasional use. And today we have another stunning example of one of those. You'll notice I am wearing a gray or silver sweatshirt. That will give you somewhat of a hint or an inkling to where we're going with this, and an unusual color for my article of clothing. So, without further ado, here we have a 1994 Ford Aerostar cargo minivan listed in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Grand Blanc, Michigan, if I was to pronounce it in French, perhaps, even though we're not in France, for $2,000. That's, middle of the road price for an Aerostar, a little bit on the lower side now that we've seen some of these higher priced Aerostars go. Just a stunning example, and all sorts of unique things that we're going to talk about, so let's get right into it. But first, perhaps a little exposition. So this is the third gray or silver Aerostar I've seen in just a few days, and it's a pretty rare color. I just posted in one of these sort of Aerostar groups on Facebook, a gentleman in New Jersey, I believe it was a gentleman, had a extended cargo, 1991 I believe it was, and he was asking the fans of this page, Aerostar enthusiasts everywhere, what people thought his car was worth. I chimed in, of course, and gave my opinion. If you search that out, you can probably find it, and I'll try to put a screen grab in here. And one person was asking, very good question, an evaluation of an Aerostar, is it rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? And I don't know, but I commented I doubt it's four-wheel drive because I've never seen a cargo Aerostar in four-wheel drive. Well, here we have a cargo version in four-wheel drive. So, it's one of those things where I mentioned it and then all of a sudden it appeared, and that's sort of the magic of the Aerostar. And the fact that that one was gray, this one was silver, I was also commenting on the rarity of the color. Now this one is not extended like that cargo was, but that's even more rare because regular length Aerostars, the shorties as we call them, are also extremely rare in four-wheel drive. So I don't know what would be more rare, an extended four-wheel drive or an extended cargo four-wheel drive. Well, extended four-wheel drives in the passenger are quite common. To my point, a lot of the four-wheel drive extended. So in that regard, if there was to be a cargo four-wheel drive, I would almost expect it to be a extended cargo four-wheel drive. If you catch me talking in circles here and catch my drift. So a regular length Aerostar in four-wheel drive already rare, and to add to that I've never seen a cargo in four-wheel drive, we have a regular length cargo four-wheel drive. So just tremendously rare. I've never seen another one, and in this rare silver color, just checks off a tremendous amount of boxes for sort of like unique Aerostars. So I want to talk about it, and that's why we're talking about it. Let's do about this vehicle. Now, to boot, 30,325 miles. So it's only got 30,000 original miles on it. Automatic transmission, exterior color gray, interior color gray. Fuel type gasoline, 16 mpg city, 22 mpg highway for 18 combined. One owner, it says it's only one owner, and in the description, they, sometimes people just chuck that up there because they don't feel like dealing with it. This actually mentions it and corroborates that in the description. So one owner, 1994 Ford Aerostar cargo minivan, 30,325 miles, factory 4x4, factory air conditioning, AM FM runs, comma, runs rough, comma, smokes, comma, reason unknown, comma, sold as is, comma, great fixer-upper, comma, period, in-person inspection recommended. Now that is an honest seller right there. the fact that they say, you should probably come check this thing out in person, is a good indication that they're not just trying to get rid of it. They're not trying to talk it up too much and then, like bait and switch on you. They want you to come look at it and, see what's going on and then give you, you can offer them a price. I love all the commas in here. It's like one run-on sentence, but they do punctuate it. They don't put periods in. They just keep putting commas in. So I respect that. I like that there actually is punctuation, and they actually double punctuate after the last little, boom in this series of booms. Boom, boom, boom. Great fixer up a comma, period. It's like they almost had like a, or is that just a thing on my screen? No, I believe it's it's actually a comma. And my screen is sometimes dirty, being a janky person that I am. Let's go through that one more time. One owner, comma, 1994 Ford Aerostar cargo minivan. Oh, it actually says Ford Aerostar cargo van minivan. So not only is it a cargo minivan and a cargo van and a minivan, it's a cargo van minivan, which just sounds fantastic. I like this seller already. I like their use of diction. 1994 cargo Aerostar. 1984 Ford Aerostar cargo van minivan. It's a cargo van minivan, which sounds funny to say, but that's actually a really sort of wise choice of words because the Aerostar was both a cargo van and a minivan, and those are two kind of separate things normally, but the Aerostar sort of fused all that together into this one, sort of miraculous package. Only 30,000 miles, amazing. Again, the factory 4x4 on the cargo van minivan. Factory air conditioning, comma, AM/FM runs, comma, runs rough, which is hilarious because the one place they didn't slot a comma in was after the AM/FM. You would think it would say comma, runs, but there's no comma. But that's funny because what that sounds like they're saying is the AM/FM radio runs. In other words, the radio works. But to say the radio runs is very, very funny. Now, obviously, that's not what they mean. But it reminds me, a good buddy of mine loves the country singer Aaron Tippin, and he has a song called Ain't Nothing Wrong with the Radio, I believe it's called. And it's funny because he's talking about like this janky car, like sometimes it runs, sometimes it don't, but ain't nothing wrong with the radio. So that's what that reminded me of, is like the the van runs rough, but the AM/FM radio runs great. So I like this too. Runs rough, smokes, reason unknown. So, what could be head gasket? It's funny that it only has 30,000 miles, so maybe it's actually something not that bad, and there's some way to address this. Generally, when an engine's smoking, it's not good, but I would say it could be like a valve, like a valve cover gasket that's causing, oil to drip somewhere and then burning and combusting and smoking. That's what was going on with my 1995 Buick LeSabre. It ended up being an easier fix than we thought. So, if you want to be optimistic, maybe the smoking, but it's running rough, so again, misfiring, oil in the spark plugs, who knows? That's why an in-person inspection is recommended, which again, just a fantastic description. Like I always say here, this is as much a sort of cataloging of Aerostars for sale as it is a cataloging of sort of classifieds culture and classifieds linguistics and language and all those things. So great van, amazing description. I really love everything about it. In addition, we have plenty of pictures, and that's always a good thing. So let's dig into those. First picture, beautiful profile picture here. And by that, I don't mean like your Facebook profile. I mean, it's in profile. Almost perfectly straight, not quite, but that's okay. So of course we can see our 4-wheel drive badge here. It looks like it used to have some sort of decal, whether that was a business, maybe it was like a highway department, but maybe that could still technically be a one owner if like an institution owned it before. Big plus here. I love a siren on a vehicle. I don't know why. It's like a little kid thing. When you're a little kid, anything with sirens on it's cool. For the most part. And seeing a sirens on a vehicle it's cool. I don't know why. It's just adds some like allure to the vehicle. So the fact that it has this big, long amber siren on it is awesome. It's also got, I believe these are these Bullet wheels or Krager wheels. Very, you see these on like the Bullet Mustangs. It's a very iconic or run-of-the-mill, if you want to look at it more negatively, but it's a very classic wheel style that you see on muscle cars. This 5-spoke where each spoke sort of juts out and is rounded and curved and bezeled. So those wheels, I would say, look really, really cool on this Aerostar. I am sort of a sucker for factory wheels, as I've talked about, but I have to say these wheels on this van do kind of fit right and sit right on there. The other thing you'll notice is this is one of those, like, I call them like semi-cargo vans. It's still a cargo van. It's still got the barn doors, as we can see by the evidenced by the hinge here and by the rear bumper cut out to expose your lower hinge. Significant amount of rocker panel rust, but we'll get to that. It has a single window here as opposed to a double window on your passenger van, and I believe on the other side, let's see, yeah, there's no window. So it's a cargo van, but they leave this one little cutout window. You know, lots of, and that's probably easy for them to do, because basically the window, you know, you pick a door either with a panel or a window, depending on whatever you want. You see this from time to time. I'm not sure what the rationale for is. All it's going to do really is let in more light, but you see sometimes people want the extra little half window in there. So you probably specify the door to either have a window or be full panel. If anyone knows why they make some cargo vans with just that one single window on one side, I'd be curious to know what the reason is behind that. That being said, it looks fantastic. I kind of prefer the full panel. I just like the look of the panel van. Now this looks a little bit more passenger-y, and I like to lean into the full cargo version. However, you know, not a deal breaker. You could always take it out if you really wanted to and just panel behind it. So not a big deal. And it, you know, it kind of looks cool. It's unique. And from the other side, obviously we got full-on cargo here with your beautiful gas tank hole. I do love this. I don't mention this all the time, but you know, the Aerostar with all the lines, whether it's straight lines or angled lines, it's just this symphony of beautiful lines that sort of contrast in just the right ways and all balance each other out in this, you know, wonderful symmetry. But with all those square lines, you do have this one super, and actually the C8 Corvette is kind of like this, where you just get this just like very humdrum, just straight round cutout for your gas tank. And there's something sort of, how should I say, Spartan about it. You know, there's something that's like very utilitarian about it. Like they didn't try to, you see some gas caps now that are sculpted into the body work of the car, so they, you know, look seamless, but then you look at the actual gas cap itself, and it's this very complex, like it's got like 8 different angles and contours on it. I just like this nice round circular gas cap placed, you know, sort of basically right in the middle of the rear section of the car. Your rocker rust is very present here as well. Not quite as far gone, but bubbling up pretty bad. So, you know, and that's the shame about this vehicle, is that it is so low mileage. And yet, despite that, it has quite a bit of rust on it. I think Michigan gets a decent amount of corrosion on their vehicles. And the fact that the engine is running rough and smoking for an unknown reason, you know, but it does say great fixer-upper, and that's probably true. You know, you'd much rather be sort of doing engine work on like a vehicle with 180,000 or 220,000 miles on it. However, assuming you can put the engine back together and get it running well for not too much money, then you still have, you know, an original 30,000 mile Aerostar, which is among the lowest I've ever seen, quite honestly. Right? I mean, maybe the lowest I've ever seen. That's crazy, crazy low mileage for a car that's, you know, over 30 years old. 2004, 2020, wait. 2004, 2000, no, yeah, over 20 years old. Beef Janky can't do math. Did I say 30 or 20? I can't remember now, whatever. No, it's got to be, wow, that's amazing. So this van, there's 2014. I skipped the decade. This is how insane I am. I was going to say, like, I've looked at 1998 BMW Z3s that were you know, qualified for classic car insurance. So 94, 2004 is 1 decade, 2014 is 2 decades, 2024 is 3 decades. So it's 29 years old. It applies for classic car insurance. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, let's move on. Let's see these beautiful, beautiful barn doors and your beautiful Aerostar logo, your off-center license plate holder. It looks like a county plate on here. So maybe they bought this. They must have bought it off a county highway department or something like that. Very, very good condition. Your bumper, very minimal cracks, and good luck. You know, it's hard enough finding an Aerostar bumper. Good luck finding a cargo Aerostar bumper. And really good luck finding an extended cargo Aerostar bumper. But looks fantastic there. Again, just, I like that it has the windows in the back, actually. That does, from a practicality standpoint, like my Ford Transit Connect, my 2012 Ford Transit Connect had 0 windows. So there was 0 backup visibility whatsoever. I got a backup camera installed. Eventually, I learned to use my mirrors pretty good. But it is nice to be able to look through your rear view window, even through a bulkhead, and be able to actually see behind you. So that is nice. I like the windows in the back. And again, just in silver, it kind of works with the plain sheet metal design of the Aerostar. White is obviously the standard sort of like worker vehicle, but I think silver looks really, really good on the Aerostar, I have to say. And I am famously, in some circles, not a huge fan of silver cars generally, but I think this DeLorean-esque, obviously it's not stainless steel, but silver painted on the look of the Aerostar, on the wedge shape of the Aerostar. I actually think there's quite a few weird DeLorean Aerostar comparisons you can make. Looks just absolutely stunning. It shows off all the contours and the lines, and it does, as I've said, look kind of like bare sheet metal. And it has just like a really, really nice, clean, simple look to it. Beautiful picture of the front. Again, that siren really, really pronounced there and looking fantastic. Now we do have some sort of, if anyone knows what that is, if perhaps that's like some sort of controller for the siren, I don't know, or maybe it had, I don't know. I'm not well enough versed in these things. The peanut gallery can, and I say that with all due affection, weigh in on what exactly this little box is. But the other cool thing about silver is I love monochromatic, but I love like kind of a janky monochromatic where it's like variation on a theme. So you'll have like lots of kind of different shades of the same color, or even just slightly mismatched shades like sunwear or whatever like that. Like it's not even supposed to be mismatched, but it is. And with a silver Aerostar, you get a great sort of variation on a theme monochromatism because you have the darker gray bumpers, which are on many, many Aerostars. You have the darker gray, but not quite the same as the bumper. Maybe just more of like a matte finish. This is more of a metallic finish or a shinier sheen semi-gloss in the paint world. So you have the grille, which is a different color. And then you have your silver chrome grill surround and your headlight bezels and all that. And then additionally, you have the silver paintwork of the car. So no less than 4 shades of silver or gray going on all at the same time. And I think that is a fantastic look. Again, you got to brag about the 4-wheel drive. This is sort of like an obligatory odometer shot when you're mentioning the mileage. I want to see that electronic 4-wheel drive badge if you're going to tell me this van has 4-wheel drive. Great shot here, and actually you get quite a nice look at just how metallic and flaky this silver is, and it's a really beautiful shade, I have to say. I love the electronic 4-wheel drive badge on these Aerostars because it's like 2 different like sort of 80s futuristic fonts in one, and I think neither of them are actually the Aerostar font. The one on the top looks a little bit closer to the Aerostar font, but I still think it's a little bit different. Maybe it's the same. I don't know. Maybe it is the same as the Aerostar font. I'd have to do a little bit more studying. But the 4-wheel drive is almost, I say 80s, it's a little bit even more 70s like game show font with this like sort of strike going through and the 4 like super simplified and modernistic, but then the big curve, swoopy curve on the R in the drive. Just 2 great fonts, a really great badge. One of the all-time great badges, along with, of course, the Aerostar badge on your rear door. Now I'd have to take a look at the E. Yeah, I think maybe it is the same font, although they just made the A a little bit different there. Well, you can weigh in on that and tell me whether you think it's the same font. I'm inclined to say maybe it is. Okay, now we have the doors open. Again, we see the great barn doors open. Really great photos too, and that really makes a listing. You have a number of metal cabinets. I like this too because it's kind of like a partial bulkhead. So you have, I don't know if I've ever seen this, you have your window sticking out, but then the driver's seat is completely blocked off. So, obviously with glass and bars, nothing can come through anyways and hit you in the head, which is good. But, they go through that extra step to make the driver's side completely covered. I love how you have a clipboard hanging here. You have your spare tire in the vehicle, which is a good sign because I personally am not a fan of the spare tire resting under the vehicle in any vehicle, be it Aerostar or otherwise. Terrible place, and I've had to deal with this with my Transit, and the wheel never comes off easily. If the car is over like a year old, you have to bash it off and don't even bother trying to put it back in there. So I like that it's already been moved to the inside of the vehicle. Another nice cabinet here. Looks like we have a holder for a fire extinguisher. I do wonder what this vehicle's original purpose was. Some sort of county vehicle, so maybe just a general maintenance vehicle. And we see inside too, continuing on with the beautiful silver shade of paint there. Really, really nice. Looks like we do have a rear speaker here, which is kind of a nice, addition for a cargo version of an Aerostar. That's kind of like a la-ti-da item there to give you a speaker in the rear of the vehicle, even though it's a cargo vehicle. That's kind of funny to me. Maybe just all the doors were like that, but you think the barn doors are different than the liftgate, so I guess they took the time to put speakers in the rear, which is pretty nice. More shelving. It looks like you do have like a nice sort of wooden floor, a little bit of water damage or oil or something spilled there, but still a nice flat floor. And the Aerostar, I think, had a pretty good, very low, especially by today's standards, lift height. So you only had to lift the package so high to be able to shove it into the Aerostar. I think it was among the best in its class. So that's just another, little feature to mention there. Another nice picture of the inside. Plenty of pictures here. Oh, it looks like we have some sort of hose coming out of here. So what do you think is in here? What is this hose coming out of here that's connected to here? That's a very good question. Do we see, is there a nozzle or tip on this? Is it an air compressor? What is it? We don't know. But that's kind of cool. So a very purpose-built vehicle here, obviously. You can see the inside of the sliding door. Oh, I'm sorry, the sliding door. This is the bulkhead again. Even the interior of the car looks like pretty clean, especially for a work vehicle, minus like your floor, obviously. And okay, I love the vinyl seats in a cargo version of an Aerostar. As much as I love the cloth two-tone seats in the passenger versions, there's something about the vinyl seats, because Aerostars did get leather seats. The Eddie Bauer editions, I think they had leather seats. They're very rare because not all Eddie Bauer editions have them. I think it was the later Eddie Bauer editions. But this is, other than that, the closest we get to like sort of leather seats. And I love vinyl generally. I mean, vinyl's like, whatever, poor man's leather, but there's something about vinyl. It handles stains really well. It's easy to vacuum. It's easy to clean. It's just a very practical material, and it still gives you that sort of like fabric-y sheen on like a cloth interior. So just much easier to keep clean. It also looks like, and this is amazing, that we have the lauded center console, which is very funny. That I wonder if that was actually factory with this vehicle. The center console, usually only seen in the passenger vehicles, I would think. Although maybe in the cargo version, you're spending all day in this vehicle. I can see why it would be nice to have that in a cargo version. Also love how your door panels are just completely gray. And I wonder if the door cards and panels were different in the cargo versions. They almost look a little different to me. There's no like door netting or card holders down here, it looks like. That's a good question, whether they were any different. I feel like I want to say these look different than the ones in my 93 Aerostar, which is also has a gray interior, but the cloth seats. It looks a little different to me. I'll have to study that a little bit more. I would love to get my hands on a cargo Aerostar. Again, nice picture of the vinyl seats. You'll notice, even though the shape is very similar on the bottom, they do not have the big wraparound, like Honda style integrated headrest. Instead, it's a more sort of plain Jane headrest here. A little narrower and a little bit, just less stylistic, but it still looks good nonetheless, and I'm sure it holds your head there just fine. Okay, under the hood. Now, this is the question. This is probably, I believe, all four-wheel drive Aerostars got the 4-liter, and I believe this is probably the 4-liter in here, which, a pretty lauded engine in the grand scheme of things. This was stuck in the Ranger too, and I think it's overall is a well-regarded engine, capable of doing a lot of miles. Not great fuel mileage, but I think on the whole, it seems like people like the 4.0 a little bit better than the 3.0, and you just get that little extra horsepower and torque boost over the 3-liter. You got to remember, this would be a pretty great tow vehicle because the Aerostar factory rated at 4,800 pounds towing, and even though the 4-wheel drive probably weighed a little bit more, you got that little boost in power. So the 4-liter probably the better towing vehicle, I would have to imagine. Now I'm going to do a little sleuthing here. It just says Lucas County. And then maybe that's just a number, and I can't really see what it says on here. Although if we go back to one of the shots here, oh, I guess it looks like that must be a manual blurred out, or if it's not done in MS Paint or whatever. I can't tell if they did this on the screen or if that was actually spray painted on the vehicle. If you're lucky enough to go inspect this in person, it must have just been on the screen on markup on their phone. You can actually see what this says on the door, and I kind of like that they left it on there, because if you did buy this vehicle, it would be kind of cool to keep that. Sorry, I keep jumping around. I'm looking for that picture again. Oh, there you go. So maintenance, maybe that just says maintenance. That would make sense. Just a maintenance vehicle. Okay, here we have another shot of those beautiful wheels. Looks like we have some pretty chonky tires on here, and the tread actually looks pretty good on them. Now, maybe there's dry rot if they're real old. Looks like we might have some cracks and some dry rot, but that'd be a bonus if you didn't have to put new tires on this vehicle. Save yourself a little bit of money. Again, another great shot of the interior. Maybe these doors, on second thought, do look a lot similar to mine, but maybe it was only the upscale versions that had that, you know, sewed in beautiful stitching on the door card there. These do look very similar to my doors on second inspection. Again, you have beautiful vinyl seats, a little bit of crack, but honestly, the side here, and this is where all your damage happens, right where you're scooting your tuchus in and out, that looks pretty good. Could use a little bit of a cleaning. It has a steering wheel wrap, which I'm not crazy about. I like a nice thin steering wheel, and the Aerostar does have a fairly thin steering wheel. The first generation, we'll call it, even though I don't like to say the Aerostar, I call it a single generation, but the pre-facelift interior, that steering wheel was even skinnier. And that wheel was, I believe, on some F-150s as well as the Aerostar. This steering wheel, of course, was on everything, including an Aston Martin, which I talked about in another video. And one more shot of the wheel. Looks like these are Rev wheels, maybe. But, you know, a really nice looking wheel, I gotta say. Oh, and they're 15-inch, so they're an inch wider than the factory wheel on the Aerostar. So for whatever that's worth, maybe a little bit better ride. So there you go. I mean, you know, really stunning Aerostar. Really cool, really unique. The color, the four-wheel drive, the cargo, the standard length. The wheels are a nice little touch on it. And again, you know, $2,000 for a non-op vehicle in this day and age, you're going to have to, you just have to, if you wanted to get this vehicle right, obviously you have to deal with the engine, get that good. Hopefully there's no major oil leaks or anything like that going if you got to do a head gasket. But even if you can DIY this, then you put a lot of sweat equity into it, you can probably get it running good, and it's going to be low mileage. Older vehicles, any vehicle that's approaching 30 years old, again, your hoses, all this stuff, all this plastic in the car, you're going to have failure points, but you know, it probably needs a good refreshment, and then you're going to need to fix your rocker panels if you want to make it look really pristine. I would like to maybe see some undercarriage shots to see how the frame looks on this vehicle, being that it does have considerable rust on your rear rockers. Your front rockers actually look quite good and quite undamaged, but this part's pretty pokey there. So if you want to aesthetically, you know, bring it back, you're going to do that. Hopefully the frame is fine. So, you know, you're at least probably doubling your price to get this thing really roadworthy. But even then, you know, if you look at these super low mileage Aerostars, that's already going to be a big price premium. And then you throw in the four-wheel drive. I mean, I referenced this when I was doing this valuation on this guy's car. And 2 Aerostars I've sold on Bring a Trailer, and I will do the second one. That'll be a long episode. Maybe we'll do that for like $150. Now that's it'll be sort of evergreen. That post will never disappear because it's on Bring a Trailer, so it's archived, so that's good, so I don't have to do it immediately. But the red one that I did for episode number 100, that was similarly low mileage, and that sold for like just under $8,000 maybe. This all-wheel drive one or four-wheel drive one that just sold for, I believe, over $14,000. So that shows you the price premium on a four-wheel drive Aerostar is basically almost 100%. So you're basically almost paying double now for a similarly spec'd, similar condition Aerostar with the four-wheel drive. So it's becoming a very sought-after option, and it always has been. I mean, it's just adds a whole nother element. You know, people refer to the Aerostar as a van, a truck, a car, whatever. But when you put that four-wheel drive in there, it really is sort of more truck-like or more crossover-like in a modern-day equivalency. And as that great Haggerty article that I always reference says, the Aerostar did sort of like predate the crossover because it's smaller than a big van, it's not an SUV, and it's not a truck, and yet it has all-wheel drive, it has a ton of space, it can haul a lot of people. It really is sort of the ultimate just crossover vehicle if you think about it. You know, a full 20 years ahead of its time. And still out there, still for sale, still at cheap prices. I mean, the Aerostar market is really criminally underrated, but for Aerostar enthusiasts like us, that's great because it's never been a better time to go out and find the Aerostar of your dreams, fix it up, and get many, many happy miles in your road-going spaceship. there you have it. I really wanted to get an episode 1. I mean, this was listed a day ago. But there was another white cargo one that just went up, and as soon as, a day later it was gone. So I think these things will go quick. I don't expect this to last very long, even though it's a project. I think someone's going to scoop this up. I regrettably have way too much going on in Janky world to be able to go and get this. As I always say, if there's a wealthy patron out there who would like to loan me money and figure out the logistics of getting this thing back to upstate New York, please do get in touch and we can work something out. I can paint something for you. But until then, we'll just have to view it here on Year of the Aerostar and celebrate its existence as one of the many, many Aerostars that came into our universe and is still spinning around the world with all of us. I hope everybody's doing well. I look forward to chatting with more of you soon. I still have to get some things out in the mail and make some more celebratory episodes about episode 100 that I've been meaning to do. But thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for watching another Year of the Aerostar episode here on Janky AF. We'll have another one for you very soon. And until then, Janky do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.